normal classes of data that are being generated by organizations, they are typically the data that is generated out of standard systems like ERP or HR and so on. Whereas big data typically refers to an entirely different class of data which is being generated outside of these typical business systems. So, for example, the logs of the transactions that are happening on the web. So when customers come to your website, they check out a lot of things, but they ultimately only end up buying maybe say one product, which makes its way into your ERP. But all that they did on the website before they bought that one product, that is valuable information which helps to understand customer behavior. But that is currently not captured in your business systems. That's an example of big data. So what characterizes big data is the fact that it is orders of magnitude larger typically compared to the standard data. So in this case, if you had checked out 10 different products before you bought one, then the amount of data which pertains to the unpurchased products is 10 times at least as big as the amount of data pertaining to the data that you actually product that you actually bought. That is one. Second is the rate at which this data is generated is fundamentally different because, for example, people are commenting on your products on a social media website. That is happening at a rate which is very rapid. So, for example, currently in the world there are about 5 billion tweets per day. So if there is a new launch of a product and people are tweeting about it, chances are they're doing it at an incredibly rapid rate. And you need to be able to stay ahead of that curve so that you're able to take advantage of any particular trend, or if there is a negative trend, snip it before it becomes too much of an issue. And in terms of the variety of data, it's incredible. So what would typically have been classical business data is now accompanied by things like web logs, things like data coming from smart meters, things like, for example, information coming from social media sites and so on. So there is a dimension with regard to the variety of data. And last but not the least is the value of the data. That's the fourth dimension. So there we talk of sparsely populated data, as in there is vast amounts of information, but you will have to sift through a lot of it before you actually find something of great relevance. And that sifting through process has to be done in as short a time as possible so that organizations can do hypothesis testing on their data to come out with actionable insight. If it's going to take you a lot of time to complete each cycle of analysis, it defeats the very purpose. So the ability to take sparsely populated data, conduct analysis on it as part of an experiment and come out with something actionable in a matter of a few minutes, that is the fourth characteristic. So if these four characteristics are seen in a particular use case, that would typically be a big data use case as against a normal data use case. Okay, so Oracle's solution towards the same. Oracle's fundamental approach has always been that to try and simplify things for customers and at the same time give them something which is profoundly different to what they would get from others in the market. So what we are looking at with Oracle is to provide what we call as engineered systems. So with engineered systems, what we are looking at is, in this case, there is the big data appliance, which is one of the offerings of this complete footprint, which is the tool through which we acquire these vast amounts of information at rapid rates. After that information has been extracted, has been worked upon, and some useful intelligence has been extracted, that needs to be persisted in a permanent data store. So there our preferred solution is the Exadata. And subsequently there needs to be a lot of analysis that happens on top of this data. So that would be in the form of visualization of the information, textual searches, and so on. So that is where the Exalytics piece comes in. So that's the third piece to the puzzle. And then whatever insights come out of this, that needs to be fed back through an expert system into multiple channels. So for example, if a customer is calling through a call center, or has walked into your store, or has browsed into your web catalog, regardless of which channel they came from, this actionable intelligence needs to be fed back there in consistent fashion. So that's where an expert system comes in, and that's where typically we would use a product like, say, the real-time decisions product from Oracle's BI suite of products. And last but not the least is where you have the business applications into which this information is fed. And for customers who are already using, for example, Oracle CRM from Siebel, those products are already integrated with the expert system, the real-time decision system. So the actionable intelligence is then fed into the Siebel CRM products, be it the call center, be it the web store, or be it the Salesforce automation tool, so that the interaction with the customer is more purposeful and based on great. I think the adoption is going to be largely fed by two or three factors. Number one is which are the organizations which are already generating data of this nature with or without realizing it, who are willing to make an investment to experiment on that data to see what could be drawn out from that data as actionable insight. So the use case has to be there, the data has to be there. That's number one. Number two is, I think, organizations where the data volumes of such data will be incredibly large, running into multiple terabytes or petabytes. They are organizations which are definitely going to have to look at solutions of this nature, because the regular data warehousing solutions that are available today in the market, they would cater to only a subset of that information, but not the entire superset of that information. And I think having people who understand some of these statistical models and how to work with some of these statistical models, that is important. So organizations which have already invested in such people would possibly be in a position to take advantage of these immediately. My view is that some of the organizations which are already generating such data, where the insight is likely to be of high value and which also have a degree of readiness, would be, for example, telecoms, in terms of the location data that they are generating, which is enormous. Any company with a strong web presence, be it an e-commerce site, be it a web banking portal, be it an app store or whatever. Organizations which for example, are using electronic devices to feed data back through equipment back to a central location, like, for example, office automation equipment or industrial equipment or healthcare equipment and so on. Those are also likely to be potential. For us, of course, partners are a very big part of our business. The expectation in this case would be that, to start with, what we would be doing is that we would work with a set of very experienced SIs who have the capability to implement solutions of this nature. And when we go to market, the expectation that I have is that we will position these solutions from Oracle directly. However, we would work very closely with these big SIs to help customers get the confidence that the solution can be translated into reality in an implementation cycle. So, we are right now in a stage where the product has just been launched. So, and it's a new concept in the market. So everybody is going to come out with similar solutions, and there's going to be a lot of noise in the market. So for customers to have to figure out, first of all, is it worth investing in this area, and if yes, on who, that is going to be a difficult question to answer. So, if I may, I would want to suggest to these customers that they should look at a few criteria while making up their minds on these things. The first thing is that the solutions that are being offered, are they being offered by world-class vendors who have the wherewithal to prepare and deliver and support solutions of such magnitude, number one. Number two, how complete is the solution, in that it is very easy for customers to get misled, where somebody just comes and tick marks everything and says, okay, I can supply all of these, but in reality is tying these together from multiple vendors, and therefore is going to create a mishmash of solutions for the customers, who will then have to live with it over a period of time, as against looking at engineered systems where the hardware, the storage, the networking, the operating system, the database, the big data technology and so on are all coming together from a single vendor, engineered together from day one, managed and supported by a single set of tools. I think that is something that customers would have to look at deeply as well, number two. And number three, that I think customers would also have to look at is how seamless is the integration of this technology into their existing IT architecture and information architecture. The more disruptive it is, the more likely it is that the implementation will be that much more difficult and the sustainability will be that much lesser. To the extent that these solutions are coming from vendors who are able to provide a graceful, natural progression from what they currently have in terms of data sources, in terms of analytical capabilities, in terms of data management capabilities, to that extent, I believe customers will be better off. So I would posit to customers that they might want to look at some of these criteria while making their